pimps, power, and pretty ladies. This is Blax History Month, a 28-day celebration of black exploitation films. I know I'm not alone when I say that the first thing that probably comes to mind when somebody says Superfly is the image of a pimp with a wide brim hat that most likely has a feather in it and a bright colorful suit with a fur coat on top. And you to be forgiven for thinking that, because somehow the name Superfly has become synonymous with the pimp image in modern society. The song Freddy's Dead by Curtis Mayfield, which is featured in the movie Superfly, is even played in several movies and TV shows whenever a pimp appears on screen. The truth, however, is that 1972's Superfly is not about or has anything to do with pimping, so it's kind of a mystery how it got attached to it so heavily. If anything, the movie Superfly kinda makes you want to be a drug dealer. Superfly was directed by Gordon Parks Jr., and if that name sounds familiar, it's because he's the son of the man who directed Shaft. Jr. decided to follow in his father's footsteps and direct his own black exploitation film, and just like his father, he was successful in his efforts. Superfly stars Ron O'Neal as Youngblood Priest, a cocaine dealer who's decided he's had enough of the drug game. It's not often you get to see a movie where a drug dealer is looking for a way out. Usually he's looking to get more and more money and more power. So the story of a guy trying to change his life is enough to make Superfly a little unique. The acting in this movie isn't quite as good as his prior contemporaries, with most of the dialogue seeming like a bunch of guys just having a regular conversation with each other. It's like they told him, hey, this is what the scene is about. You guys just talk it out amongst yourselves on camera or something. Ron O'Neal does a decent enough job, far better than his friend Eddie played by Carl Lee. For whatever reason, he's just not believable. I'm not sure why that is. Probably because it doesn't really seem like he's acting. Some would say that gives the movie a little bit of authenticity. I'll let you decide. His best part is a monologue when he talks about them not having any other options in life.
What the fuck are you gonna do except hustle? Besides pimping. And you really ain't got the stomach for that.
See? Priest can't even stomach pimping. Of course, if it was that easy to get out of the drug game, more people would do it. And Priest learns the hard way that it's not as simple as just saying you want out. He'd probably be a lot more successful if he didn't use so much of it himself. Obviously, this movie came out before Scarface and the invention of the 10 crack commandments. Apparently, the NAACP took issue with this movie because of its casual depiction of cocaine selling and use. It's kinda hard to argue with them when there's what seems like a 5-minute commercial for how fun cocaine is within the movie. That's not an exaggeration. The cocaine slideshow is easily 5 minutes, maybe even more. At the same time though, the movie set out to be a realistic portrayal of 1970s Harlem, so I think these scenes add a little bit of that grittiness that it was going for. It also shows that cocaine was and is an everyman drug, not just for black people. Not to mention, it's kind of a commentary on how much of a hold drugs have on the community, not just for the users, but also the dealers. I mentioned the song Freddy's Dead earlier, but I can't end this video without mentioning the soundtrack as a whole. It's fantastic. Parks Jr. took a cue from his old man and not only gave Priest kind of a theme song, but the entire soundtrack is kind of a narration on the whole film. Curtis Mayfield's Superfly album is very comparable to Isaac Hayes' album for Shaft, and I dare say it's actually better. It didn't win any awards or anything, but it did stay on the charts for a long time, even before the movie was released, and actually ended up grossing more than the movie. As for the movie Superfly, it's a bit of a personal story about Priest, with not much action or anything going on. And it's basically a commentary on what options for success outside of drugs inner city blacks had in 1972. The name Superfly doesn't apply to any one person in the movie, but rather it's a way to describe a certain style or attitude, like the way Priest dresses, or the car he drives. Look at this ride. That's Superfly, baby.